When I was a seminarian, I was assigned to a house in Halifax. And if you don't know this about priests, because Sunday is such a busy day, often we'll take Monday as our day off. It's kind of an insider scoop into our life. And so on Mondays, we would do something called Netflix and nachos. That's exactly what it sounds like, okay? So we would go to the fridge, we would take out any of the leftovers, we would put them on top of nachos, and we would melt cheese on top of it so we could eat it. And then we would argue for a while about what movie we were going to watch. Eventually, when we found a movie, we'd sit down and we would just enjoy each other's company. We would work on building our brotherhood. Well, there was this one time where we're watching this movie, everything's going well, and Father Alex and Father Simon, who I was living with at the time, brought their dry laundry to fold while they were watching the movie. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. This is something quiet, they're doing it on their own. What's wrong with multitasking, right? How quickly I was to be proved wrong. So after the laundry was folded, Father Simon starts to do a workout. And he's doing some push-ups, he's doing some squats, and I'm like, okay, this is a little weirder, a little bit more distracting, but at least he's quiet, okay? Then Father Alex goes and gets a guitar. And he starts playing a song. And I'm like, what is going on? Has no one noticed there's a movie on? And as if inspired by Father Alex, Father Simon goes and gets his guitar. And he starts playing, but he plays a different song. And at this point, right, the rage is starting to build up. It's about here, right? But it's still here. I haven't spoken anything yet. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, they're playing guitar, I can deal with this. And then one of them, and I don't remember which one, thank God, has the audacity to say, hey guys, do you think we could turn the subtitles on? I'm having a hard time paying attention. And I lost it. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. We could turn the subtitles on for this movie that's already in English. We could do that. Or how about we stop playing guitar? How about we, focus on the movie? Maybe then you'll be able to understand what's going on. So I blew my fuse, and they put their guitars away, and we continued on with the movie. Now this is a very, very small example of how something that can start off as a good idea, right? We're trying to work on brotherhood, we're trying to work on unity, can quickly turn to division. Now, gratefully, this was an easy division to overcome, but some divisions are not as easy to overcome. And the church is not exempt from this tendency we have as broken human beings to seek division rather than unity. I think especially as Catholics, it's easy for us to become divided from each other, right? There's all these liturgical divides going on right now. This kind of music is better in church than this kind of music. I like this style of prayer, this style of mass. And we separate ourselves into these camps that are bitterly fighting with each other. There's all these divisions on how to best pass on the faith, all these strategies of how to evangelize. Like, should we support the Catholic school system? Or should we go into faith-based homeschooling? Should we bring in this ministry or this program into the parish? Or all these different ways of how to use social media. How can we reach out to people? And it just ends up in us fighting with each other so often. And then, of course, there's just good, old-fashioned, or should I say bad old-fashioned, just relationship breakdowns. Arguments, hurt feelings, senses of betrayal that turns brothers and sisters in Christ into enemies who are divided from each other. And I actually think that these divisions in the church are one of the main things that are holding us back from that vision that Father Bob had of a church coming explosively alive. I think that division is one of the things that is holding us back. Because when we read about what was happening in the early church, right, Paul's description of what was happening in the city of Thessalonica, the church was coming explosively alive, right? He was describing all the fruit that was happening precisely because of the unity that Paul and his ministry team shared with each other. He opened up that letter saying, Paul, Silvanus, and Timothy. So this wasn't Paul's mission. This was a mission that he was going on with a group of brothers, and probably there was more than just Paul, Silvanus, and Timothy, right? There was probably a whole team of them that went to evangelize in Thessalonica. They were all working together. They were all on the road together. They were all taking a part in the ministry. They were probably living together at certain points. And Paul said, our message of the gospel came to you not in word only, but also in power. And notice that he said our message. It wasn't Paul's message. It wasn't Paul going out and trying to build his own little kingdom. He was going out with Silvanus, with Timothy, and with others to share this ministry of evangelization. You can probably imagine that maybe Paul was the one preaching. They're like, okay, Paul, you're really good at preaching. I want you to be preaching. Timothy, you're really good at teaching the new converts. Silvanus, you have a gift for healing. You have a gift for deliverance. All of them were working together, sharing their gifts, sharing their strengths to make the team better. And the result of this was amazing. I'm sure that they were tempted at times to be divided amongst each other. Right? I'm sure they had personality struggles. I'm sure that they hurt each other every once in a while. I'm sure that they were tempted to bear grudges, to say, no, my way is better than your way. But they presented themselves to the Thessalonians as a unified team. Paul says, you know what kind of persons we proved to be among you for your sake. Their unity was for the sake of the people that they were coming to serve. We're going to put aside our divisions. We're going to learn how to forgive each other. We're going to overcome our resentments so that for your sake, we can bring you the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the result of this teamwork was the church in Thessalonica coming explosively alive. Paul says, you turned to God from idols to serve a living and true God. It's so beautiful. People who were lost in the darkness of paganism, of false idol worship, were coming to know the living, the true, the one and only God. They were turning away from these false things. They were turning to the truth of Jesus, who Paul says rescues us from the wrath that is coming. These beloved people were the fruit of the unity of ministry that Paul and his team had. They were being rescued literally from the fires of hell and being saved for Jesus Christ and his kingdom. Unity was crucial to that mission. Now, do you believe that? I believe that. The companions of the cross believe that. We believe that if we are divided, our mission will ultimately fail. Whereas if we are united, our mission will bear much fruit. We know that together as a brotherhood, we are much more effective than when we are divided. And it's not always easy, right? A unified brotherhood sounds good on paper. It sounds good as a nice, catchy slogan, but when you actually live with each other, you have to learn how to die to your own wants, die to your own needs, die to your own selfishness for the sake of the brother that you live and work alongside. And we're not perfect at it either, trust me. We've had some real conflicts with each other. I personally have hurt other people, and I've been hurt, and I've struggled to forgive. A little while ago, as an example of this, and I talked about this with Father Simon already, so don't feel like I'm throwing him under the bus too much. Although as my pastor, I kind of have to. It's part of the associate's role. But seriously, when I got to Halifax, as a new associate, before even 2 weeks had passed, Father Simon and I had a really tough conversation about a difference we had in strategy about how we were going to go forward. And it got emotional, right? We didn't come to blows or anything, But it got emotional, it got heavy, it got tense. It wasn't solved in just one conversation. But we went into that conversation knowing he's my brother. I'm his. He loves me. I love him. There was this relationship of trust that allowed us to have the conversation. We chose to be united. That's what all of us as companions of the cross strive for. Even though we're not perfect at it all the time, that's what we're striving for, precisely because we care about the mission so much. Because the mission is to reach the lost, to reach those who don't know Jesus yet. And it's worth it for them to put aside our pet differences in order to be united in sharing Jesus with them. So what about you? Are you willing to put aside your divisions? Are you willing to put aside those resentments, those broken relationships for the sake of the kingdom? I'm not talking about a fake unity, right? Where, oh yeah, we get along together all the time and everything's fine all the time. Yeah, we're good, right? That's easy, it's cheap. It doesn't mean anything. But a real unity is hearing the opinions of others that you might disagree with and saying, what can I learn from that? What are some gifts that my brother, that my sister might have that I don't have? It means putting aside your relationship hurts, your personality difficulties and differences, and saying, can I forgive this person? Can I reach out to this person? How can I bring unity here? In fact, I want to challenge all of you here at this Mass to spend some time in this Mass to think about that one person that you are divided from. That God is calling you to take that first step to seek unity, to seek reconciliation with. Because no one can make that decision for you. Only you can, with the help and the power of the Holy Spirit. We, as the companions of the cross, we want to be united in mission to preach Jesus Christ to this world that is rapidly becoming lost, dark, and dying. And we want all of you side by side with us, united in this same mission to bring Jesus to those who have no hope. And if we did that, imagine the effect that would have on the world. Imagine what effect that would have. Instead of seeing Catholics fighting with each other online, imagine if those who were non-believers saw Catholics united, putting aside their own differences and proclaiming Jesus together. How much more attractive that would be. Instead of wasting time trying to build your own little kingdom, build your own little ministry, pitting this group against this group, that we were pooling our resources, we would have so much energy left over to channel into reaching the lost. Our relationships would be healed, our resentments would be put aside, and we would work together for the common goal of evangelizing this world. And if we did that, seriously, look out. Look out. The church would come explosively alive. People who are worshiping the false gods of this age, who are on the way to destruction, would hear the gospel coming in a clear and unified way from people who obviously love each other, and they would leave their idols behind and turn to Jesus, attracted by the unity of his messengers. That's what happens when we put our divisions aside and embrace unity for the sake of the mission.